Hello and welcome to the King Heroes Journey podcast. My name is Beth Martins, your host, and I have the great pleasure of having Dani Katz on today. We've known each other for some years over the pandemic, and I've watched her a little bit from behind the scenes, and I've had a lot of fun keeping up with her stuff. I just wanted to make a couple of announcements before we get started today that, interestingly, this is episode 369. I have actually never numbered my episodes at all. And I was just checking my blog and it's like, oh, 369, that's an interesting number. Dani's into words. Maybe she's into numbers too. We're going to talk about that. One announcement also, I want to make sure people know that there's going to be a House of Free Will workshop, which is my private association on method writing. And Dagmar Stansova is going to be the teacher. She said to say hi to Dani. So I thought I would mention that as well. And Dagmar and I actually have a new podcast that we're doing called Yin on the Rocks, and where you might have noticed that though I don't exclusively host men on this podcast, it is a King Hero podcast. So it's got definitely the masculine energy associated with it. And Yin in the Rocks is like a full circle for me back to the feminine, not going away from the masculine. You can't get away from that. They are two peas in a pot. And so those two things, it's always going to be Friday afternoons at 3 p.m. Central Time. So you can find us there tomorrow and all the Fridays to follow. Tomorrow, we're going to go on the theme of a myth called the Bone Collector Woman. So I think that's going to be fun. I haven't heard the story before, but we'll be riffing on that. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Dani on. Hello, Dani. Welcome to the King Heroes Journey.
Hi, Beth. Thank you so much for having me.
My great pleasure. Super nice to have you here. We did meet. Was it like, I don't know, I bet it was 2020. I think it was really early on, or at least 2021.
Yeah, it definitely might have been. I know I reached out for business coaching.
Right. Yeah, there you go. And you've done really well. I've been cheering from behind the scenes. I always think it's fun. Your brand overall. I'm not a like a branding expert. We did some of that in the corporate world, but my heart and soul is really about helping people to create a service that is within their wheelhouse, in their actual paradigm, in their sacred purpose of all things. So today we're going to be talking about words, word wars. I wanted to call it the wordy wars, but then somehow that just got too weird, the weird wordy wars. And we're going to talk about languaging, why language matters, why I took myself out of word jail some time ago. There's a very special quote that I can definitely relate to. Many people also, that out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars. So we'll definitely talk about that. And if you're not familiar with Dani, then I will let you know a little bit more about her. Do come and say hello in the chat if you happen to be out there watching, and help me share out these videos. They get more and more shadow banned as I go along. Go figure. I don't think I'm that dangerous, Dani. I don't know.
I feel the same thing.
Right. Yeah, I'm just like, just a bunny over here. So Dani is a visionary thinker with an uber expand. Oh, is uber spelled with 2 dots like that? That's fun. I've never seen it.
Yes.
What is it called again?
It's called an umlaut.
Umlaut. That's it. Nice. Okay. Super good to know. And with an uber expanded perspective, Dani Katz has devoted her career to empowering leaders, disruptors, and rebel badasses with the tools, skills, and confidence necessary to thrive as sovereign conscious reality creators. Amen. Her broad spectrum of practical experience and formal studies including a master's degree in journalism, combined with a pronounced passion for the metaphysical, inspired her ever-deepening fascination with the energetic frequencies of words. Devoted to understanding how language programs the subconscious mind and creates the world as we know it, Dani's impassioned investigations lead her to develop quantum languaging. And I'm confused about how to spell that word. So is the spell check. But we're going to talk about making up words, which I think that is, I'm a fan of that. And which is a method of deconstructing and perfecting the myriad ways and whys and hows that words shape our every human experience. She's the author of the critically acclaimed best-selling books Word Up, little languaging hacks for big change, propaganda, an illustrated guide, and the language of betterarchy, a blueprint for uniting against tyranny. A lifelong learner with an unquenchable thirst for capital T truth, Dani pushes every possible edge to its outermost limit, both to transform and awaken her own consciousness, as well as to pave new pathways for the brave, bold badasses she guides, teaches, and advises. Dani walks her talk and leads by example, modeling the highs and lows of the transformational path with humor, heart, and authenticity, utilizing her decades of devotion to her own healing, holding, and awakening to support her coaching and consulting clients. She works as a quantum languaging consultant. You can find her at danikatz.com, on Instagram at something.dani, and over on Odyssey as well at Dani Katz, :E. What is that sign? Welcome, Daphne. Nice to have you here. And do definitely share this out if you have friends that you know love Dani or would like to love Dani, which no doubt would be the case. And we'll get started here. So I just wanted to find one thing first. Oh, let's not do that. Shout out to my son, by the way, who recorded the intro music for the this podcast, and he's playing a piece called Quintuplet Meditation. So it's pretty fun to have him a little bit in the mix. I have to force him, but that's all right. Hello, Tammy. Thomas, nice to see you here. All right, so we're going to get in and talk about words. And do you want to, is there anything more, by the way, that you want to share about yourself? Any like, how, my first favorite question is, how did things change for you in 2020?
I got really disappointed in humanity. A lot of people who I thought were my friends, who I thought got it, who I thought were free thinkers, demonstrated otherwise. I thought that the bonds of our friendship would supersede indoctrination. I was wrong. The censorship was insane. I didn't realize how many people love their enslavement. That was a shock to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a total shock. And it was especially a shock to see how many people in the so-called like spiritual community loved their enslavement, loved the government, loved like all the things. It was just really, really shocking. And I think that a lot of us who went through this are still processing. It's so massive.
Yeah, exactly. So the fascinating thing, like now fast forward, we're going to be going on 6 years since all of this madness began. I'm like, amazing, right?
Yeah.
And so same here. How many people just they drank all the Kool-Aid, they loved their they just I mean, that's editorializing to say they loved it, they just didn't know or whatever. There's something there, and then there were those of us that wanted to pull back the curtain and see that guy behind there, and there was this impression that, okay, there's kind of two kinds of people. I did realize there's two archetypes: the child, or the one that's willing to just take instructions without questioning them, and then there's the rebel, which to me are actually the first two archetypes of the hero's journey that they've got us looping on. And so it seemed so much better to be the rebel, to be the badass, to be able to say no when someone says put a poison injection in your arm without checking the ingredients. But I've also noticed now after all of this time that there are very severe limits on people. So as much as we had to criticize the people that were complying, there's as many or more people in the truth world that only want to go so far with the truth.
Yeah.
Right. You got truth with a capital T. Or, is that your mission, to go to the end of the earth to
Absolutely.
get the truth?
Yeah, no question. It's why, I always wanted to be a journalist, because I always was devoted to capital T truth, which wasn't always, a comfortable journey, because that was my highest value. And I think, if I'm picking up on what you're putting down, I feel like this is kind of a conflict that I'm seeing now in the so-called truth movement or health freedom movement. Personally, I don't believe in movements. I think they're all psyops. I don't think truth needs a movement. It's just truth. And to create a movement around it is to chip away at the validity of truth and to call it into question, very David Hawkins, force versus counterforce. And I see activists coming into the space with very good intentions. But the difference between a quote unquote truther, and I recognize that that's a pejorative, and I'm not a fan of identity constructs or tacking an ER onto predilections, behaviors, affiliations, beliefs. I don't think that's a helpful practice. And for shorthand, this conversation, where I see the conflict within this community, confab of humans, is that activists are devoted to a specific outcome and truthers are devoted to truth, which is very often inconvenient for the outcome or for the preconceived notions or for where we think we want to go. And so, it's like FOVID is the gift that keeps on giving, because there are continuous rug pulls and surprises of like, wait a minute, these people don't get it. Wait a minute, this is another crew that I can't really be myself with, And so this is another piece that I've picked up on, that those of us who are devoted to capital T truth will very often trigger those who identify as activists and have a specific agenda and therefore want to control truth in service to their agenda, which again, is a beautiful intention, but doesn't really work for those of us who've been on the front lines for a long, long, long time. And who have
we just lost your audio, Dani. Is that the case for everybody in the chat as well?
That's weird.
Give you a minute there. Hello, Sue. Nice to see you. And Topher's in the house. You must be reading my mind because you're on my mind. And then my apologies that the YouTube link was hooked up wrong. There's been a lot of comedy of errors going on in my back end. Lots of people showed up for my interview with Curtis, and it didn't happen. It had to be delayed because of some extenuating circumstances. Let's say something to do with my middle finger on my left hand. And that is rescheduled, by the way, for the 17th. At 1 p.m. Central Time, and Dani is chatting me here. It looks good on your end. Can you say something?
Something.
Darn it, no sound at all. Can everyone else hear, Dani? Did I do anything wrong myself? Nope, my volume's full still. You can hear us both. Oh, fancy. Sound is fine. Shoot. Now it's just me. That's no fun. Everybody can hear. What would I do with that? Could you try one thing, Dani, to jump off and jump on again? That might reset the whole thing. Yeah. Oh, that sucks if I'm the only one who can't hear. It doesn't work for me. My settings. Let's see. I did not change one thing. My audio is on. I'm going to check my audio, but I could hear her perfectly and just suddenly went off, and the right speakers are on. Okay. All right, some shenanigans in the background, and thanks you guys. I appreciate your feedback there. That's good to know. Wild eclipse season, Jenny. Yes, exactly. It's been intense, a full-on ride, I would say. And is anybody here on Rumble? Just curious. I think I would notice that from the chat, but we're also live on X and Fakebook. I continue to go live on as well. We are on Vigilante TV, but I have not been able to hook that up myself for some odd reason. Dani is back, so we'll bring her on.
Can you hear me?
I can. Yay! It's way more fun that way. Yeah, very good. Let's see, where would you have left off? Do you remember you were talking about?
I was saying that the devotion to capital T truth seems to create some conflict among people within the health freedom movement or truther movement, because I feel like they don't really understand what it means to be devoted to truth instead of a preconceived outcome.
Yeah. Exactly. I actually came to, especially in the last year, calling myself an outlier among outliers.
I
And
like that.
I wasn't trying for it, and I don't. It's not even that I have pride in that at all. Maybe a little bit I do, if I'm perfectly honest. But for some reason, I've always been maybe like first of all an early adopter of psyops. Right. So then the thing that was wrong that everybody might be doing now, I did a while back and discovered it was wrong. And then I was done with it. But in those times, then, when I was a vegetarian, nobody liked that. They wouldn't bring vegetarian meals to family dinners thinking of me. And now it's like mostly vegetarian because they want to cater to these non-carnivores. And so, yeah, the health freedom movement, exactly. That is, I think, the stickiest, because if you've been working within a health freedom, especially if you were trained, you invested yourself, right? You went and paid for the education, and then you developed a practice or a business around that. And then maybe you develop products based on all of that knowledge. Well, my experience is they don't want more truth.
Right.
Like 100%. If it threatens something that's on the books and is making money at this time, and I don't blame them, I don't chase them, but the innocent part of me thinks, well, hey, great, there's more truth. That means in the health movement, that means more health.
Yeah.
Not better ideas, but things that are actually working better, not just working for a while and then don't work.
Yep.
So there's my bandwagon that I'm on. And yes, outlier among outliers. So I think we're in good company here with each other. And so for the sake of journalism, how did things change for you when, were you a mainstream journalist in some ways?
I was like an edge. I was an outlier in the mainstream.
Right. Actually, I remember now. I think I remember you talking a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in the mainstream, and I started to get pushed out. My first instance of being canceled was 2012. I was writing for Reality Sandwich, and I wrote an article about gender reassignment surgery through the lens of the 53rd gene key, which speaks to Claire Graves' idea from Spiral Dynamics that capital L life evolves by transcending and including every step that came before. And while I'll defend to the death everyone's right to do whatever they want, cutting off our genitals is not transcending and including. And when we follow the money, who benefits from this? Big pharma. And doesn't it simply make more sense to expand our definitions of gender instead of marginalizing a small group of people and asking them to chop themselves up and get on the big pharma titty to turn themselves into a preconceived idea of man or woman? And people really flipped out. I had no idea. It was like my first instance of being canceled, and they were calling for me to, they wanted to Reality Sandwich to pull the article. They wanted me to never work for them again. And Reality Sandwich really had my back. But then a few months later, when I pitched them an article about Black Lives Matter and how that languaging was only going to create more racism, they're like, yeah, we're done with you. Like, it's way too much drama to deal with you, and we're not going to tackle that.
There's a little foreshadowing there, eh? How things turned out with them. Yeah.
Of course. I mean, I have a pretty good track record for, recognizing patterns and seeing where the cultural engineering, the social engineering is attempting to steer us. And it's not, I don't want to be right,
Right.
But I do tend to be. And then, so I started to get kind of pushed out of journalism. I'd written for the LA Weekly for 10 years, and they let go, like they had a huge clearing house. They let everyone go in like maybe 2009, 2008. And then at that point, they wanted me to insert like celebrity name dropping in all of my articles. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really aligned with that. So I just chose to step away. I think one of the last straws for me was after Me Too erupted. And I had pitched an article to Los Angeles Magazine, and I was assigned the article to write about my perspective on the Me Too movement. And after I delivered the article, they said, well, we can't run this because it's critical of the Me Too movement. And I'm like, it was always going to be critical. Like, it was exactly what I pitched you. And they refused to run it. And then I moved back to New Mexico, where I used to have a column in the Santa Fe Reporter. That was the end of 2019, because I was living in LA and I just had this really strong gut feeling, like, get out now. Like, the big thing is about to go down. You need to get out. And I'd lived in Santa Fe before, so I came back to Santa Fe. So when COVID started, I just reached out to like the health department and I was like, how are you collecting these numbers? How many cycles of PCR are you running? Like, break down this process for me. And then they tattled on me to the Santa Fe Reporter, and I was banned for life. I got banned for life from the New Mexican for reporting on election shenanigans. And then the final nail in the coffin was co-writing Plandemic 2 with Mickey. And that was pretty much the end of my establishment journalism career.
Right. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah. And was it, I say that really tongue in cheek, but it's pretty stressful. I remember talking to Andy Kaufman the day he lost his job for not masking in the not psychiatric ward, but where he was seeing his patients.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty big, what happened for you at that moment when you realized you weren't going to be able to make your gainful living in the real world anymore?
I'm not happy about it. It's devastating to me because all I ever wanted to be was a journalist. So a lot of people are like, that's a badge of honor. And it's like, whatever. Like, I'm more devastated that my entire industry doesn't really exist anymore, because the urge to, uncover injustice and share capital T truth has not gone away in me as journalism has gone away. And it's frustrating because I used to have a very big audience at the LA Weekly and, the other publications I wrote for. So it's very frustrating. It's really, really disappointing. It's really, really, it's heartbreaking.
I believe it. Are there some people that carried forward from that decided to follow you on social media or?
Yeah, but I'm so shadow banned, as you are as well. So it kind of doesn't matter. Like, they keep taking away the followers on Instagram. So last week I had 10,200, but now all of a sudden I lost 100, and I'll get like maybe 20 views, maybe 30 views. So, and also, like, I don't really care about likes or ego gratification. I care about moving the needle and educating people and having an impact. So it's frustrating because I still continue to uncover incredible corruption. And it's frustrating to not really have a place to put it. Like, I love my audience and I'm very grateful, but like 200 people listening to my podcast is certainly not the same as having like all of Los Angeles or all of Santa Fe. It's very different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love how you said that it's the important part. I mean, obviously, people have to make a living. That's a fact. I think we're all, those of us who are, I worked pretty much 100% online right now. I don't have I've at times had personal coaching practices and that kind of thing. It just became so perfect to be able to serve people from all over, and in some ways in a much logistically less complicated way. But the writing is kind of on the wall at some level, right? Like that I heard the next move social media is making is that it's going to be all biometric based. So you won't be able to create or keep using an account without doing all that. I've got a payment processor that acted like it was a choice to do my biometrics, but in the very end, it was not a choice at all. So I said, you're forcing me then. And they said, that's right, we're forcing you.
They admitted it?
Yes, they admitted it. I cornered them in emails because they, again, made it look like a choice. And I just wanted to expose that it was not a choice.
Right.
Whatever good that did me, didn't. But
yeah. And so did you choose to share your biometric information with them?
I did. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there you go.
When I disappear from online, we'll know that that's why, because that is a line in the sand for me. And it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting times. So, and the big theme of the new podcast that we're doing, if you heard me talk about that, is the rebranding of the unknown.
Hmm.
It's kind of where we're at. Good theme
Totally.
for that. Yeah, yeah. Before we get into a couple of more specific things around words and stuff, I'm just curious about AI. How do you feel about that coming down the line? I had one of my past coaches giving me some advice at some point in a little turning point, and I'm like, not sure what to do. I'd injured myself. I'm not a keyboard warrior right now at all. Writing is, three fingers going on, and she's like, just use AI. It'll write everything for you. Right. So like, oh, okay, that sounded good for about 15 minutes, and I'm like, oh, and will it do my dishes and my laundry and all those kind of things? So what's your take on that? That AI can spit out all these words if you instruct it well enough.
I'm currently operating with a love-hate relationship. So I was kicked out of my junior high because I refused to take the computer class. And I said this will be the downfall of humanity and I will not take part in it. And of course, like you, I am mostly working online. I really resisted it for a long time. It offends me to my core. And then I was talking to Nathaniel Solis about it, and he's like, well, all your competitors are using it. So it's like, and I remember when YouTube changed their user agreement in 2020. And I was like, I'm out of here because of the principles of it. And I took all my videos down and I moved over to Odyssey, and like I just lost. No one followed me, like no other content creators did it. I just shot myself in the foot. And so I've started to dip my toes into it as far as marketing goes, which I have not yet learned to master. I haven't figured out. And sometimes I get very resentful. It's like, I'm grateful that I can have my own business online and do my own thing. And it's frustrating that like, I just want to write, I don't want to do newsletters and social media posts and like figure out and learning all that stuff. Like I really just don't want to. And I've taken marketing classes and I've read the books. So ChatGPT has been really helpful there. And I've gotten a lot of criticism from people in my tribe about it. And it's like, I don't really care if you guys judge me for it. I have bigger fish to fry than writing an Instagram post. I really don't care about that type of thing. When it comes to research, it lies and propagandizes even more than mainstream media. So I think it's important for people to know, like, it will just flat out lie and flat out make stuff up and always has a leftist Marxist bent. It never lies like towards the right. So that can be frustrating. And I also see where it's a trap. I recognize that. And I'm like, let me use it now to get as much traction for my business, to get my messages out as possible. And when, they tighten the grip, as I have no doubt they will, then I'll bail.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. AI lies, propagandize, and panders.
Oh yeah. It's such an ass kisser. And I'm like, stop kissing my ass. Like I don't need that. Yeah. I'm not interested. You're not my friend. You're not and because I always call it on its lies. And I'm like, why are you propagandizing me? Like, who programmed you to do this? Why are you editorializing? Why are you telling me what meaning to make of this neutral information? It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I was just being lazy. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're not a person. Like, you're not. You're programmed to be a liar.
Funny. Oh, that would be hilarious to record a few of those conversations with you and AI. I got sick of it. I immediately got sick of it. It was at first there was 5 minutes when I thought, oh, wow, it can everything. But I'm just like, yeah, there's something too, I don't know, empty about it and everything that you've said. So,
yeah, but I will say when it's come like in the past around my podcast, titling my podcast has been pretty challenging for me. It's not something that I have yet figured out. ChatGPT is really helpful with coming up with good titles for the podcast. So things like, or podcast descriptions, things that for me are just a drag. And I feel like are just like weighty tasks that are taking me away from the stuff I really care about. I have found value in that.
Right. Yeah. It cut me off. I was on a roll one night and then it said, it's over. You can't ask any more questions. So I guess I have to upgrade to a paid thing.
So it always does that with me. I have 4 different accounts that I toggle between when it does that. But I did find that Google AI doesn't cut you off.
Okay.
So if I just go straight through Google, and the other weird thing with Google AI is it wasn't propagandizing me for the first week. And I was like, oh my God, this is helpful because I'm researching a pretty big investigative piece right now. And it was very helpful. But after about a week, after sucking me in, now it's moved to propagandizing, just like ChatGPT does.
Crazy. Wow. Yeah. Wow. It knows you don't want to be propagandized. So it was just dripping.
Completely. Because it's not like they're not all sharing information in this like digital enslavement construct.
Yeah. Yeah. The Brave AI seems fairly good.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. And the one thing that I do like about it is it teaches you how to ask questions.
Oh,
right?
nice.
If you ask a crappy question, then you get a vague or useless answers.
Yep.
So that's one thing. I'm a fan of questions.
Yeah, I am as well. I would love to be using Brave. I upgraded my laptop last year, and the new Apple laptops won't let us install Brave.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Oh, okay.
Totally blocked.
The new iOS or like the new chip or something like M chip?
I don't know.
You're not sure?
I'm still transmuting Luddite tendencies, so.
Okay, all right.
Something in the machine won't let me.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes me not want to upgrade to the next whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to know. Ah, man. So let's talk about stealing words.
Okay.
I think there are some good things about that. Like I actually titled myself earlier, I'm a word grabber.
Mm-hmm.
So like you, I need words, whether it's to promote a podcast or to write an email or something with an event or something I've got going on. And then so you're like in the ethers, I need words, I need something. Or you end up with a podcast guest that doesn't have their own words for one reason or another. They don't write words, so you don't have them. But I've learned to grab them and just, see them, feel them. Someone speaks them and I take them, and it's a kind of stealing. But it's also a kind of creating. Was there not a quote about like good artists borrow and great artists steal, something like that?
Probably.
Yeah. So then I always say they stole the best words and made them mean something other than we tend to think they do or intend or all of that kind of stuff. So do you want to talk about your basic paradigm around the stolen words?
And when you say stolen words, are you talking about weaponizing words?
Yes. Like now, let me see if I can come up with any examples. Shoot, I should have made myself a list of stolen words.
The one that's coming to mind for me is privilege. Would that be exemplary of what you're talking about?
I haven't looked into that one, but go for it. Talk about that one. Privy, private.
Well, again, if we're talking about the same thing, it's where they infect words with mind control and with viruses, so they become laden with like associations and meaning that were never intended. So now privilege is a pejorative, whereas it used to be just totally neutral. Now it's thrown out to insult people who don't have the amount of melanin in their skin that the social engineers have decided people need to talk about certain things or whatnot.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. So specific words have been highly, highly weaponized, and also watered down. Words like rapist or racist or white supremacist, like those used to mean really bad things. It was like if someone was a white supremacist, we were on high alert because very few people were actually given that moniker. If someone was a racist, that was like something to be mindful of. Now that word is used casually because we didn't post the right colored square on social media. So that now these words become watered down. They don't mean anything, which makes our world more dangerous because we don't have words to identify people who might actually believe that they are embodying some sort of racial superiority,
Good example. That's great.
And these words destroy people's reputations in this very cavalier, reckless way where I think people are doing a lot of damage without realizing it, and how many people don't deserve these like reputation destroying monikers. Like when I wrote my article on gender reassignment surgery and the 53rd gene key, there were hundreds of tweets calling me a transphobe, a hateful transphobe. And it's like, I'm not hateful at all. I'm not a transphobe. Like, none of those things were accurate, but random people who are emboldened by the anonymity of the digital space. And then, you know, with the advent of, at the time it was blogging and now it's everything online, like everyone gets a platform, you know. So if I wrote an article for the LA Weekly back in the day that pissed people off, there might be 2 letters to the editor that would go in the LA Weekly that would, you know, indicate that people were annoyed with me. But then when that happened, it was like hundreds and hundreds of people, and they weren't talking about the content of the article. They were trying to destroy my character by wielding these words so recklessly. Some initial thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like that's pretty age old, the use of labels. Or like, you know, there maybe was a time they put a letter on your shirt, and then you wore that label, and you know, it's maybe fairly commonly known, but what's the damage there? How would you sum that up?
The damage to like the larger social sphere, the damage in like my own personal life.
Could be both. Like damage to the culture, the use of labels, of course, the person that's being labeled.
Oh, the use of labels is horrible because it allows us to dehumanize one another. So instead of being a fellow human being who personally didn't choose to get injected with a kill shot, now it's like they tack on this anti-vaxxer thing, which has all these associations. Then you're into QAnon, then you're a racist, then you're a Trumper, you know, like, the problem with labels is they don't come free. They don't exist in a vacuum. They come along with these stories and these implications, and they allow us to dehumanize one another. So instead of being a person who made a different choice in the voting booth, someone's a Trumper, so they're a racist, so they hate women, so they, you know, it's like all the litany of things. So it's this shorthand for hatred, division, and dehumanization.
There you go. Good. Yeah, I'd like to just have that said right out loud. I was just my brain's still working on the words that they've stolen. Now, this is interesting because if you talk to me maybe even a few years ago, I might have agreed with this. Like, say, in the Black's Law Dictionary, if you look up the word human, do you know that it says monster? Right, exactly. Well, that turns out to have a historical context that is absolutely badly understood. It turns out that word is not really at all stolen in the way that it was put out. Same with the word understand, that was said to mean that we stand under. Mm-hmm. If we say we understand, that's like total crap and BS. And then you get people who've, you know, they reject the word understand, so then they make up the word overstand or understand, pardon me. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you know, the how the word sovereignty got really pushed in and propagandized at us. You know, now I actually believe that the propaganda machine for us on the more rebel outlier side of society was much bigger than the one that the mainstream used.
Really?
Yes. Same thing with the medical health world, that like, of course, mainstream medicine is weaponized against us, but I will hazard a guess at this point that natural health is even more weaponized against us. The reason being that we are harder to fool, we are harder to take down. The tendency is to, you know, maybe learn something or do some research, and they know we're going to go digging for things, and they want us to find a bunch of bull crap. Mm-hmm. So that's a big subject, but yeah, I'll see if I can find any more words that have been weaponized. Welcome, Mara. Nice to see you here. Innocence. I'm not sure exactly what she meant, but Jenny said nationalism, innocence. Yeah, I'm not sure how that word has been weaponized, but feel free to tell us more if you have any thoughts, Dani.
Yeah, I haven't looked up innocence. My take on understand, because obviously we hear this a lot within our community, is that I don't think a potato is a lesser vegetable because it lives under the earth. I don't think root vegetables are inferior to, you know, vegetables that are grown above ground. So, and if it makes people happy, my whole thing is freedom, you know, because I am so unyielding in my demand for my freedom, and all I can do is honor everyone else's freedom, which is why I've never identified as an anti-vaxxer, because not only do I not identify as anti anything, but if someone wants to vaccinate themselves, they can do that.
We have to go easy on that word, by the way, because we're on.
Sorry.
Just so you know, yeah,
Okay,
we'll go for poison injections. Hopefully, if it doesn't get said too many times, it won't matter.
I won't say it again. My apologies.
Okay.
But, yeah, I don't know if that counts as weaponized words. And I see people who say grand rising and inner standing. And if that's bringing them joy and that's uplifting them, wonderful. I haven't yet felt organically inspired to make those adjustments to my own personal lexicon. And I honor the people who feel like that's more aligned for them.
Nice. That's beautiful. I love that. How would you define freedom? There's a weaponized word.
How would I define freedom? God damn it. How would I define freedom? I mean, my right to do whatever I want, whenever I want, to say what I want, to think what I want. It's my inner agency, my inner authority to live my life however I choose. And yeah, it's crazy to me that people are not all on board for that. And it's crazy to me that's like, okay, if you're not on board for that, then go move to Cuba. Like, that's great. If you love communism and you don't want private property and you want a limited, a very limited parameters around speech and what you can and cannot say, and you want to be on the government titty, that is beautiful. There are places you can go on this planet where you can live like that. But that is not what is happening here.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, I have a whole speech about freedom. It's a word, it's a word that I tend not to say. I use it quite a bit in my coaching, and I use it to point to the unnameable, the indescribable. So it's the word doesn't actually encapsulate it, but it's pretty close, and it doesn't have any religious affiliations. So it tends not to trigger people quite as much, and then I will withhold. In a way, withholding is the wrong way, but I won't define it for somebody, because I've noticed that people have an ever evolving definition of freedom. To me, freedom and purpose are the same. And that when you're in when you're fully purposeful, when you're driven by purpose rather than all of the unconscious desires and, the pressures coming from the outside on you, when you only answer to God, to freedom, then there's a freedom in that. And there was at one point I said that if I have to be a slave in this slave society, which some people would argue we are or we are not, but if I have to be a slave, then I will be a slave to purpose. Because it's fascinating. I agree. I like doing whatever I want. And I think I strangely have a life where I go through the vast majority of my day doing whatever I want. It's weird, because most people don't have that, right? My son's 18, so he doesn't need his mama anymore. I'm the one trying to be with him, and so it's like it's a strange thing, and just doing whatever you want is not real. The purpose can wear off that also. Right. It's a place to be in. So I'm not sure exactly where I was going on but inner agency, and the not having the thought police, not being regulated in how you think. We're on that teeter-totter right now, especially in Canada, where it's edgy. We're being controlled. I'm seeing all kinds of new controls come into the society, and they're there to crush the spirit, because they're not. Right. They're not there. They're not actually relevant to any function in society. They're there to make sure, I think I just got a ticket. They made a 30 zone out of something that shouldn't have been a 30 zone, that was for construction temporarily. They took all the pylons away, but they kept the 30 sign up. So we're all zipping through at our normal 50. They look behind me and there's a fucking camera going off in a car planted there a Sunday morning, it's just... Anyway, I had to complain about that torture. So I don't know if there's anything you want to say on there, if you'd like a new question. And Mara did it before quickly. She said the innocence was not weaponized, but hijacked. Absolutely. And that I'll just say my take on the word innocence, that it becomes synonymous with ignorance. And those are not the same at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, another hijacked word that I'm thinking of is domestic terrorists. I don't know if they're using it in Canada the same way they're using it here. Journalists are domestic terrorists. Parents who don't want their children being taught about masturbation or anal sex at 6 years old are now domestic terrorists. Right. Regarding the ticket,
we probably shouldn't say that very many times either.
Sorry?
We probably shouldn't say that very many times either. Just
which
so you know.
Word?
The DT.
Okay.
So sorry.
I'm going to skip this whole section because I think everything that I'm going to come up with will probably be wrong. But I would encourage you to fight that ticket because they don't know that it was you driving the car. There's no proof. No one asked for your ID. It's their burden of proof to prove that that was you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've used that in court and I've won.
Right on. That's awesome. That's awesome. I think I will bite the bullet and use my freedom of doing whatever I want to go and do that evil thing. But yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, it was a good point. You know, the say, like, we're getting accused of burning books, and there's now a woman who's been championing, just back to your other subject, that the pornography come out of the children's libraries. It's a pretty reasonable request, right? Pretty reasonable. And
I can't believe there's pornography in children's libraries.
Hard to believe. And and they pretend that it's education, but when you trace some of these authors, they actually come from the porn industry, which is fascinating that they became legitimate author for children's books and libraries. And so now she is being sued. The one who was championing against this, that was criticizing a school principal. So her whole association got behind her and funded this suing of the woman. That is like, I know it's beyond, just in case you didn't have enough thing to shake your head about.
It's so insane. And I'm guessing you might have this as well because of the way that I present and I move through the world. I think people assume that I'm liberal, Democrat, like whatever it is. I'm not any, I've never been any of, I've been green and libertarian. And at this point, I don't even vote anymore because I live in a state with Dominion voting machines. There's no point. But I've had people come up to me and be like, can you believe that they're burning books? And I just say, like, that isn't happening. Like, please don't trust everything that your media is telling you. No one's burning books. They're asking for an adjustment in what children are being exposed to. And it's like things are being conflated, and tied into such knots through the propaganda machine that calls itself the mainstream media. And, on one hand, I have a lot of compassion for people because they come by their indoctrination honestly. They don't know that the New York Times is lying to them or that the Washington Post is lying to them or CNN or whatnot. So, I recognize that they're coming by, honestly, it's just very dangerous. And it's really destroying the fabric of our human family, which is so painful to watch and be a part of.
I know. Exactly. Yeah. Great example of that book burning. There's no book burning. And we have the internet and it's all there if Google wouldn't keep scraping information away.
But it's crazy to see like how they give us completely different information and they're doing it on purpose. So, my old journalism community, we had a big, they all pretty much canceled me for being some like radical Nazi. And, right around the time Trump was being elected again, I still see them on Facebook and what they're posting. And I weighed in on a couple things. And I said this was one of my old editors, very smart man. And he said, immigration has never been better, except for, Biden has made immigration as good as it has ever been. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's let in millions and millions of people. And he's like, those are just that's just right-wing propaganda. That isn't happening. And that was really illuminating for me of like, oh, I didn't understand that they were being propagandized to think that was completely fictional. So where's the resolution when half of the people in this country, you know, are being given a completely different set of facts? You know, how are we to resolve that amongst ourselves when there's been so much divide and conquer propaganda deployed upon us? It's quite the quandary we find ourselves in.
I know, it's amazing. And then the facts, like all you have to do is go into public and see that at least half of the people don't come from Canada. And it's not just looking at them to know that. It's like you can hear the whole family speaking in some other language, and it's like there is a definite shift. I've often asked myself, where did the Canadians go? Have they died at such a great rate that now we used to have a full store of Canadians, and now we have not? I've taken to singing "O Canada" in grocery stores when I get too stressed out.
Thank you for your service. And what a great cover for injuries incurred from certain interventions if they are filling in people so that we don't notice how many people might not still be here.
Exactly. Yeah, that was one of the explanations for, the more benign explanation for all the immigration was that our economy would die otherwise, because we don't have the people to support it. So that's probably true. But the even more heinous and likely option there is that people from those countries, they don't have standards. Their standard of life has raised exponentially. So as they erode the standard of life here, they're not going to complain like we do. And we've been taught not to complain because nothing happens.
Right.
So yeah, there you go. Let's see. I'd like to talk about word jail and languaging, and because people will run after you and talk about how you speak or how you've used your words or all of this kind of thing. And there came a point, and you get so tight in your own mind, you don't even want to think a word anymore, because and it's very constricting. It's very like, oh, I'm going to break somebody's rule around the words. And so I made this U-turn at some point. Like I took all the words back, and they're my words. I write them, or they're coming out of my mouth, and they're going to be my words with my meaning. That's all. But obviously, I still agree that language is a spelling. And in fact, who is that guy who created the method writing? Do you know his name offhand?
Is it the Postmaster General guy?
No, not in the truther world. So method writing.
I know who you're talking about. Is it Dagmar?
Well, Dagmar is going to be teaching the method writing, and she studied from Jack Grass or Jack something. Anyway, I don't think Dagmar's here today. Darn it. So I was listening to his thing on method writing, and it was actually really revealing. And I'm a grabber and a stealer, and I'm looking for little things, and I want to write something. And then he said at one point, it's a really, really beautiful interaction between him and this quite intellectual interviewer, and he ended up getting her to cry, like to go from being the thinker to more of a feeler, and coming from her deep voice, he would call it. And then he said to her, it seems like therapy, doesn't it? And she said, yeah, it feels like therapy. And he says, it's not therapy, it's about selling. Right. And then selling is very close to spelling. And I'm not against selling. I'm a business coach. I hope people are prosperous in their purpose. Absolutely. But there's, so that was fascinating to have it really be spelled out like that, and admitted that it's not even, so do you want to say anything on that subject?
On language policing?
So yeah. We can talk about word police and language policing, or word jail.
I have so much to say about that.
Oh, good.
So 2 days ago, I did a very big medicine journey, and at one point in the middle of the journey, my guide was taking notes. Apparently, I screamed out, "Fuck language policing!" Yeah, I mean, my thing with language policing is I know the purity of my heart. So I give myself license to say whatever I want to say, because I know I have no hate in my heart and I'm not going to be policed. And hi, Dagmar.
Jack, great. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
So I give myself permission to say whatever I want to say, because if I'm holding myself back because of some social agreement, then I'm not free, right? Then I'm questioning myself. And I first clued into this. It was like the early 2000s, and I started hanging out in this community at the bottom of Topanga Canyon called the Rodeo Grounds. And it was this very kind of wild hippie community. It's where, my mind got open in a lot of ways, and I tuned into, a lot of the great spiritual teachers. And there was a man there who was like kind of the king of the community, and he used to use the word, can I say Igernay? I think I can say that.
I think that's okay.
I think I can say that. And I was shocked because I grew up in Los Angeles, very diverse. No one said that word. That just wasn't part of my reality. But he wasn't using it in reference to Black people. He was using it as like, well, we're the Igernays of Malibu. Because when we would go into Malibu to like go to the post office or go to the bank, like they really didn't want anything to do with us. He was using it in the Patti Smith way. And so it really opened my mind because I was so shocked by it, right? It really shook me. And so I started practicing saying that word just to test myself. Like, can I even say this? And I realized if I can't learn to say this word, then I'm not free. Then I'm holding myself back. And I started using it in social situations and learned really quickly, people are not okay with that. Like, that was not a way to make friends. But I realized we're giving this word too much power. And so we're all enslaved by it. Like, think of all of the racial slurs that exist. I could say kike, I could say dyke, I could say all of these things, but that word, we have to say the N word. How infantilizing is that it's a word that, allegedly most people are not allowed to say. So we're giving that word too much power, and we're continuing to empower the negative frequencies and the dehumanizing frequencies in that word by continuing to dance around it. So I'd had the idea, I always wanted to do, before I realized Esalen was like a giant psyop land, I always wanted to do a workshop where we purified the language and to get some really awake, conscious people there to just keep repeating a lot of these no words to take the negative frequencies out of them and purify them in service to humanity. And then I realized we're so not there. We're so not there as a people. I don't do language policing. I was actually thrown out of my improv class because someone threw a tantrum when in a skit where I was playing a bodybuilder, the character said, ballet is faggy. And no one in class batted an eye except my scene partner, who had like a stage 12, millennial indoctrinated meltdown. And I was told that I couldn't come back to class unless I apologized to the whole class. Oh my gosh. But what was fascinating was this whole thing happened by email. And I'm like, it's very interesting that this is my fourth time in this class. I've been coming for years. And you're not even willing to have a conversation with me as a returning student. This is a first-time student who's dating the teacher and doesn't want to be here. And instead of like giving me the benefit of the doubt, you're saying I just need to deliver an apology. But if this is real and you're afraid I'm a raging homophobe who's dangerous to people, shouldn't you have a conversation with me? And why would a simple apology be enough if I'm that much of a threat to everyone? So I refuse. I was like, there's no way I'm apologizing. I did nothing wrong. This is insane. And I think I see this doing it in me, which is, quite reactive and adolescent, where like, I want to say these words more because I'm being told not to. Right. So it's having the opposite effect. And what we're doing is we're pandering to victim consciousness, and we continue to cultivate people's like childish, infantile victimhood, instead of teaching them that the world is an unsafe, unfair, brutal place, and you're going to need to thicken your skin because you can't go through life not hearing words that you don't like and throwing stage 12 tantrums and expecting everyone to pander to your triggers. It's annoying. And it's like, unless people are triggered, I'll just speak for myself. Like everyone, I have shadows, I have traumas, I have habits and ways of being that are inviting rewriting. Unless that stuff is triggered, I'm not going to see it. Unless I'm given the grace to screw up, to offend people, to sabotage things, then where am I going to see what needs healing and integrating? So I feel like it's the way that the social engineers are keeping people stunted and really stealing the evolutionary process by kowtowing to people's contracted comfort zones instead of inviting them to heal and expand to be able to handle the brutal world that we're all sharing.
Boom. That's so powerful, Dani. Oh my goodness. That was a great rant. I love it. Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah. It's so deep. I think there's a lot there. Yeah, I was just going to say just a small example with children, how, you think, oh, don't swear around them. Don't say that. And then they're going to pick up the bad words and this kind of thing. So I'm driving along, and I guess I swore a lot when I drove and had my little baby son in the back. And all of a sudden I'm driving and I'm like, oh shit. And then I hear this echo from behind me. Oh shit. Like this, like just that was, and he didn't have a whole lot of words then. It was just like something that had a charge. And so I decided, you know what? We're going to swear freely. I'm not going to charge that up with that make it wrong and bad and even to contextualize. But he was basically self-taught when he realized that there were places he could do that and places he couldn't. And he really never got into any trouble of any kind and has incredible discrimination in his use of language. We're very free with each other. Like there's just, we say all the things, we say all the politically incorrect things. And it's fun. And there's, it's kind of the intelligence that I think they're trying to remove. So we're just, it's classic, right? Airports are a good example of this, as if I'm riffing in my mind, where you want to just, or me, at one point, I wanted to just learn the rules so I didn't break them and get in unnecessary trouble and stress. I don't mind trouble, but the unnecessary stress is enough at point. And they make it so that you can't learn the rules because the rules are different at every single turn, at every port, at every, around every corner, the rule might be different. And I think that's part of it too, to keep you, right? You want to say
Absolutely.
something about that?
Well, and then we have to keep asking permission. Is it okay if I do this? It keeps us in that, my book, The Language of Betterarchy, is all about hierarchy. So that keeps us in this lower position. If we don't know the rules, then we have to ask. We can't act freely. We're always going to be taking that kind of inferior rung on the ladder and deferring to some sort of external authority to tell us what to do. And that's the basic kind of lie, this inversion of what authority really means, that is propping up this entire sham show construct. Because if all of us understood that we are our own inner authority, that authority means our God-given right to author our lives as we choose, then we wouldn't be reaching outside of ourselves for validation, for acknowledgement, for permission. We would be moving through the world as self-responsible people with agency. And that's exactly what, the predator class doesn't want, because that's the end of their little scam.
There you go. Yeah, another weaponized word is private. And so what that, multiple meanings. And I was happy to have come across all of the fake and gay stuff around the private domain because it made me realize one extremely important thing is that your private life, your relationship with your son or your husband or your family, your friend, the way that you conduct yourself in your life, that's the vast majority where you might make that mistake and go ask, like, could I do this? Can I have a house of free will? Can I this or that with my family? Am I allowed? And it was just like, yeah, what? Don't bring matters to the public that are private.
Right.
That's the mistake that I think people are making in droves right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then Topher said something really funny, that he's taking back blackface with his biochar face cream.
Yeah, Yeah, do it.
Yeah, I want to, Topher, I want to hook you up with Garrett Smith because I think he needs to know about your biochar a lot. He was, in fact, strangely talking about biochar yesterday.
I also want to know about it.
Okay, very good. Awesome. Missing some good comments. You can't wait to listen to this again, Mara. Yeah, me too, actually. And so let's see, with the time that we have, I'd like to talk about a few of the quirky topics were on the list here about the weaponization of customer service.
Whew, that one really gets my goat. What I do love about the weaponization of customer service is I still firmly believe it's an issue that we can unify around because it does affect all of us. And I mean, I'm sure we've all noticed it. You know, you and I grew up where you could call a company or a store and have a human being pick up the phone and be polite and recognize that we're the customer and go out of their way to help us.
Yeah,
And
that was fun. I love that.
I love those days. Those were great days. And I also loved being in customer service. You know, when I was in college, I worked at Nordstrom, and Nordstrom was known for their customer service. And it felt so good to go above and beyond for people. And I think it was, you know, I waited tables for 12 years, like a great way to cultivate humility and to recognize the value in being of service to other people. And so it's obviously a social engineering strategy to get us used to, you know, where they're trying to push us. And I always relate it to Yuri Bezmenov's 4 stages of ideological subversion, with the last stage standing between ourselves and total tyranny is normalization. And so I'm a big fan of not normalizing the weaponization of customer service and to continue to call it out and demand service or take my business away. Like, you know, here in Santa Fe, at this stage of the game, the only store left to buy like a cord for my computer at is Best Buy because they pushed all the other ones out of business. I call my local Best Buy. I'm talking to someone in India who has no idea what's in stock or what isn't. They claim something's in stock. They say I have to pay for it online before going to the store. And I'm like, no, actually what I'm going to do is never shop with you again. Like, voting with our dollars, I think, is our smartest move when it comes to the weaponization of customer service and letting people know, like, no, I'm the boss and I'm not going to give you my money if I'm going to continue to be mistreated by your organization.
Exactly. Yeah, I like FOVATES, how you call it, changed all the customer service into security guards.
Totally.
Right?
Totally. And then the attitude is crazy. Like, my other big thing is protecting cash. So I went to a shop today. I ordered a green juice. I went to pay with cash. The woman behind the counter says, "Do you have a card?" And I said, "No, but you know, we can skip this if it doesn't work for you." Okay, fine. You know, it's like, and what I think it's important for people to know, like, I don't get off on being the squeaky wheel. It's not comfortable. It's not fun. I would definitely prefer to just move through smoothly, but the stakes are so high. They're so high that it's worth it for me to push back, you know, on automation, on self-checkout, on not being able to speak to a person. Like, all of those things are deal breakers for me.
I know. Yeah, now you can't get a hold of the government. They're like threatening you that you have to pay them, and there's no way to interact with them whatsoever. They ignore it. Really. Wow.
Yeah. Now they used to have phone lines to get, but now they don't. They just go straight to voicemail.
Yeah, they keep telling us there's no queue. There's no lineup. Before you had to get in like massive lineups, and now it's like, oh, there's no lineup available to you. Oh, yeah. I'll just give a little story also about customer service. There's a store called Canadian Tire here of all, like it's very ironic they would call it Canadian Tire because when you go in there, there's almost no Canadians who work there. And so I go up to the customer service and I just wanted to cut my stay short. And I said, "Where is this?" And so she lied because she didn't know. And she sent me to somewhere that it wasn't. you know, they don't want to disappoint you. And then, you know, I came back. I probably won't get all the details, but it was extremely frustrating. I did finally find someone from Canada to help me, and that was good, and I was satisfied. And then we got to the lineup that was, I don't know, like just a little mile long, and it's there's one person that's not from Canada working there, and I'm starting to blow a little bit, so I start singing "Oh Canada" as nice as I can, right? Like I'm singing it nice. It's not like rude or mean or hurting anybody's ears. I sing not bad. And you know, it seemed okay. Like for other guys in the line, I could feel a bit of camaraderie. There was something like that. And then I got up to the front, and finally it's my turn, and I just said sweetly, like, "Do you know what song that is?" And he's like, "No, madam, I don't know what song that is."
You have to go like this when you do it.
I don't know. I just don't know. And but of course he wasn't offended. He didn't understand to be offended. But the Karen who had gone before me storms back into the store and starts yelling at me, "What's your point? What's your point? What's your point?" And I'm just like, "Well, I'm just singing, just singing." It's like, "Oh, Canada, have you heard of it?"
Right.
It's like, oh my God. Anyway, yeah. I got shamed even by truthers for that, but it was it just like you say, you know, there comes a point where if you lay down every single time that you get into you know, murdered, your soul gets murdered by these things, then we're going to die a soul death, and it's going to be over.
Yeah, and I think, you know, what I want people to understand is that we have the power. We have the numbers. We have the power. They're terrified of us. If they weren't terrified of us, they wouldn't shut down the phone lines. They wouldn't shut down all the access. They wouldn't, you know, lower themselves to coercion and censorship. So they're that afraid of us because that's how powerful we are. And it is really time for us to exercise that power. And just like you said, you weren't singing in a rude way. Like, we can do it kindly. We can do it with a twinkle in our eye and a sense of humor. You know, all the restaurants I go to in Santa Fe, I've trained them very well. When they hand me a machine, I say, I'm going to tip you way better when you hand me a printed check and give me some privacy. And now they know, you know, and it's like, it benefits everyone. And, you know, the places that don't take cash, I explain very politely, well, cash is protected legal tender here in New Mexico. So the law is really on my side. If you refuse my cash, I can take the goods and leave, and the law will be on my side. But I don't want your business to lose. So I'd really just prefer that you can honor cash, you know, and when I'm kind that way, it does tend to work.
That's amazing. Yeah. With humor and kindness, you can go a long way, and you might get attacked anyway because, like Jackie Kiss says, there's Karens everywhere. Yeah. But it's kind of worth it. I want to hang out with you, Dani.
Yeah, it'd be so fun.
I know. So we were going to talk about maybe if we're down, well, I think we got time maybe for both. So the wedding industrial complex, it's one of those things. I've never been married. I was, you know, with my partner long enough to have a son and everything like that. It was a little bit like a marriage, but it wasn't the actual wedding. And I heard some of the book that you had written and recorded on one of your videos, which I do recommend visiting her Odyssey. And it's just snippets on YouTube, right? That you put of things.
Yeah, I'm like so close to having my channel taken away that I just now only put trailers up because I don't have the constitution to deal with the YouTube harassment and not lose my shit. So I just learned it's better for my nervous system to just not post there.
Yeah. So here's her Odyssey link in the chat if anybody wants to follow that. And so what inspired you to look at the weaponization of weddings? Did I say that right?
It works. I love it.
Okay.
So
a wedding industrial complex. Yeah.
That was an essay that was it came out of a cover story I wrote for the LA Weekly back in 2007, 2008. And it's a very long story, but basically I came very close to dying. And part of my recovery was that I was given an orgasm prescription by my integrative physician. And in trying to fill that prescription, I realized how broken the kind of, you know, heterosexual romantic space was. You know, I'm the Pluto and Libra generation. So I was basically just kind of unpacking, the second wave feminism psyop that had us believing that men were expendable, that had all the women very masculine, all the men very feminine, and this kind of breakdown between us being the first generation of divorce, of the whole a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. And the reason that I read that recently was because I interviewed Stephen Jenkinson, who just put out a book called Matrimony. And so his book was about specifically the wedding ceremony and the value of it. So it just felt like, and I have so much respect for Stephen and his perspective, but it just felt like the perfect opportunity to share this essay, which is, such a different perspective. I think, I first and foremost, I respect everyone's choice to do whatever they want. Whatever's best for them, mazel tov, I'm happy for them. But when I was, how old was I? Maybe 28, 29. For Mother's Day, my mom demanded that we go to Barney's, New York and try on wedding dresses because she knew it was her only chance to see me in one. And it struck me as like, this is crazy. Like, I don't know why she made that decision, but it was also crazy, all this hullabaloo about a dress. And, there are entire magazines that are devoted to nothing else but a dress. And you have these young girls who are dreaming of their wedding. They don't dream of like a healthy, conscious, co-creative relationship, but they dream about this party and how pretty they're going to look and all the pageantry around it. So I was taking a lot of that apart in that still unpublished essay collection.
Very nice. I love that. Yeah, so good. And thanks, Daphne, for posting the book. I'd like to find that as well. It's it's so twisted. It's like a mind. There's no other word I could find to describe it. It's just like a total mind fuck, the whole thing, and a bastardization of what otherwise is a very sacred union between man and woman. That it's a whole can of worms there. I'm actually very grateful that I didn't marry and I didn't, go the legal version of that, and unfortunately have to dissolve that and the epidemic. I don't know if you'd be open to it, but maybe there's a part 2 where we can talk about the masculine feminine, because it sounds like you've had a very big awakening around that as well.
I would love to talk about it. It's also a really big part of my Language of Betterarchy book, is helping us understand that like the return of the divine feminine has literally nothing to do with putting women in positions of power. When we rebalance the masculine and feminine, it might organically lead to that. It might. But what it really has to do with is the lauding and elevating of reason and logic and masculine ways of being, while demonizing intuition and emotion and feminine ways of being. So we look at like when Hillary Clinton was running for president, there was nothing feminine in her leadership. Sure, she probably has a vagina, but other than that, it wasn't like a big feminine win. It was like just putting a woman in a position to behave in the same way. So I break a lot of that down in the Language of Betterarchy, because I help us to understand how we, all of us, are responsible for sustaining the imbalance between the masculine and feminine by using a language that is dominated by masculine energies and not realizing that we're doing that. So I would love to have that conversation.
Okay, fantastic. So we'll leave that. Yeah, that's a big, juicy one. I love it. Let's take a quick stab at controlled opposition. That's something that you obviously have some stake in exposing, dare I say?
I do. It's it doesn't win me a lot of friends. And when I was little, I remember my mom took me to a magic show at iMagnon. And every trick the magician did, I would yell out how he was doing it, because my sister had a magic kit and she had all the same tricks that he was doing. And so I recognize there's something in me that always likes to expose lies or expose deception. It's something that I've always been attracted to. And I don't do it like, there are people who I've worked with, who I've been friends with, who I firmly believe are controlled opposition. It doesn't mean I don't like them. right? It doesn't mean that I'm demonizing them. And one thing that I say a lot is like, I don't have kids, which gives me a lot more leeway as a truth teller to say what I want. And I don't know what it's like to have my kids threatened. So I'm not going to judge someone for being in that position because I haven't been in that position, but I am going to call it out, because if I see people being led off of a cliff, I'm going to warn them about it. And so that's what I do. And that tends to upset a lot of people.
Exactly. Is it too dicey to name anybody that you're sure in the truth space? I mean, it's endless.
It's endless. I mean, I think the easy one is Ian Carroll. And
I don't even know Ian Carroll.
He has like kind of a porn star mustache, and he blew up. He went from like having great TikTok content to being on Joe Rogan, sitting in for Candace Owens, for Alex Jones. And I've gotten a lot of guff for calling him out as controlled opposition, and people saying, well, you don't know it. And it's like, well, I've been in media my entire adult life, and I do know that this is not how media works, whether he's being paid, whether he's being threatened. And a lot of controlled opposition, I think, doesn't know that they're being controlled, because there are handlers and there are groups like the Wellness Company that like gently suggest podcast guests or gently steer people away from things. But when people are sharing misinformation, disinformation, propaganda, I'm wired to let people know that they're being misled.
Yeah, me too. I couldn't control it, actually. Because having, say, being a little bit of a hub and having groups and watching how many times people tried to come in, I named the 8 archetypes of controlled opposition. Ooh. because it was harder to call out the individuals, and you always did come to some place where you had to like, yeah, I'm making this claim based on a lot of feminine intuition. I've been right. My intuition goes, and then I sit and I wait for actual information, and inevitably, and it'll come in threes, and so it's one of those things. But I was really, I'd be curious to see what you think if I sent you the little training around that.
Please
like that, you get the well poisoners, you get the outright people who are just like pumping fear, but then you got the copycats. They don't know what they're doing. They just want to get some likes and views, and they notice that this, when you pump fear, that's addictive. And so there's multiple levels and layers, and then you got the masculine and the feminine in there, that you get the certainty in the situation, but then you always have the uncertainty. You can't get one without the other. So that's I'm glad. And I lost a ton of friends, right? Like there's a lot of people that they jumped on RFK Jr.'s bandwagon or Del Bigtree's bandwagon, and then like I just can't sit back when you see, and they're so then I get canceled.
Exactly. And all you're trying to do is safeguard other people's well-being. That I find that so frustrating, because I've had the same thing with the same players, and I've had people say to me like, you're endangering the movement, and it's like, your movement is endangering people.
Nah.
Like, it's not about your movement, and it's not personal. And I think there's something as well, it's feminine intuition, and it's also pattern recognition, which is like the fundamental definition of intelligence. And for those of us who have been calling this stuff out for, forever, since I was in journalism school, we recognize the patterns. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people who entered into like the truth-telling space because of COVID, and that's beautiful, right? And I love that, people have put themselves on the line to try to help humanity. But I don't think they understand, for those of us who've been in this for longer, that like there's a bigger game going on that this is a piece of. And so I think if people don't understand the full spectrum picture of the globalist agenda, they can do whatever they want, and I recognize that, but I personally don't appreciate being told to shut up or that I'm the problem when I'm speaking from that perspective as a journalist who's been in media my entire career. It's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah, I lost my YouTube channel I did a series of articles on that controlled opposition and had the trolls come out of the woodwork, and they were signed up and made a mess of my list, and they'll mark my emails spam. I'm just slowly weeding them out. Every single email that I send out now, after it's been at least a couple of years. I don't have it up in public, but if anybody out there wants to take the trouble to write me at my website and you would like access to this Archetypes of Controlled Op, then I'm happy to do that, or share it with you, not do that, I should say. And were they friends if they abandoned you? Yes, powerful question, Dagmar. It's war, right? Like there's no. This is not an organic, normal, natural situation with which we could have judged friendships.
It's a really great question, Daphne, and I appreciate you asking it, because it's, and I've been talking about this on my podcast more and more as I'm healing this, because we were all traumatized by COVID. I don't think there's any way around it, is recognizing how I had been misusing that word. And it's a lot of the time more accurate of saying, this is someone I used to know, this is someone I do know, this is someone I used to work with, and recognizing that the F word friend is reserved for much fewer people than I had thought.
Right. And many that we thought were friends, because there was like this instant bond. It's like, oh, you're like me, we must be family and everything. It's drama bonding.
Totally.
We were terrified.
Totally.
Right. So you're going to end up becoming friends, quote unquote, with people that aren't actually your heart and soul. That's why I ask people to apply for the House of Free Will. So I can see, are we related enough? Do we share enough values where we're going to get along, where I'm not constantly being challenged and taken down, or, well poisoners, which I've definitely had in there. And it's a very sad thing how that the start of the House of Free Will was full of well poisoners. Not anymore that I know of, but yeah, that really took people out. So let's maybe just one last question with the minutes that we have here is to talk about your quote. You did a beautiful meme on Facebook and probably other places, quoting Kahlil Gebran, that is saying, out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars.
Yeah, so that's actually from the archives. I used to do a lot more drawings, which I'm definitely intending to get back to. And I don't know how, I just found it in one of my hard drives, and I thought the little girl was so cute. And I myself have a lot of scars. And my partner also has a lot of scars. So it was kind of for both of us, of like all that we've been through. But it's like the beat up Winnie the Pooh teddy bear, we love it so much more for all that it's been through, or that favorite sweatshirt that's like all ripped up and stretched out, and recognizing that it's totally the opposite of what they're trying to shove at us with like the plastic surgery and the aesthetics and the filters and the this and the that. And it's like, no, like that's not what we're here for. We're here to get like messy and beat up and, scarred and scratched, because that's how we learn, and that's how we build, the incredible characters that we all have and are. Nice.
Yeah. And there's, I think, part of, I heard this at some point that I think is kind of true, that women were raised to be perfect and men were raised more to take risks. And there might be, some truth or whatever, like the perfection is a moving target and a fictional thing that doesn't even exist. The taking risks, because it doesn't mean that women shouldn't take risks, but yeah, if you go through life trying to avoid all of the injuries, then though that's an injury of its own, it seems to be kind of a given. I know I've been having physical injuries lately, which is extremely symbolic of that whole kind of thing. Nearly cut my finger off. I'm going to have a hell of a scar from that. And
Mazel tov.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, teaching me about my my hands and how important they are after all. So yeah, it's a strange thing, because suffering and loss can carry a lot of cultural shame, is what I notice. That there's something, when you sustain an injury. I remember when my parents died, and I don't know if I'm alone in this. You guys can let me know, and Dani, you can tell me as well. But there was a strange like embarrassment of this grand loss, that I lost both parents within about a year and a half of each other. And they were pretty young compared to their parents, especially 20 years younger than their parents when they died. And it was very like, oh boy, I don't want anybody to see me suffering this. Like, it's bad enough I'm going through this loss, and then I have to be seen going through this loss. Is there any insight that you have around that?
I mean, I haven't had that experience myself, but I have had shame and embarrassment over certain scars or physical attributes of myself, and I'm frustrated and tired of seeing women kowtow to this indoctrination that we're just here to be like aesthetic bracelets for men or something. We're just here to look a certain way. I was visiting with someone who used to be a friend. And I mentioned Justine Bateman because I love the work that she's doing right now. And he's like, oh yeah, I saw her recently. She looks really haggard. And I lost it. And I'm like, she looks gorgeous. And she looks appropriate for a woman her age who like has lived life and not like put herself in a box. You know, so I get frustrated and I realize we're out of time, so I won't go too far into this, but like, I feel like they're stealing our elderhood with this whole plastic surgery thing happening in Hollywood and among peers and whatnot. And so we don't have models of aging. So people who look totally appropriate for however many sunspins they've accrued are all of a sudden freaks who are being mistreated by fellow humans because they're not going the plastic way. That shit really annoys me.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty by design. And then in 2020, you saw they were killing them high speed, taking them out of society. And then we have literally no elders, and that all of that intelligence. I mean, they kind of killed that with drugs anyway. It's not that because you didn't no longer looked at our elders like they were full of wisdom. I hate to say it. Nobody had a mind. You know, in my grandma's aging home, she was the only one who had a mind that I saw. And she worked at that and really read and wrote compulsively just to keep her brain working. So you would have liked her.
A great model for you. I love that.
Yeah, she really was. Well, thank you so much, Dani, for joining me. What a beautiful conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I will hit you up for a date on part 2 to go really deep into the whole feminist agenda, masculine, feminine, and all the words around that too.
That sounds great. I really enjoyed this, Beth. It was great to drop in with you, and I'm already looking forward to our next chat.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to stick around for a little bit, but we shall talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you. And thank you to everyone in the chat. Much love.
Okay, bye for now. All right. Well, that was a lot of fun. Thoroughly enjoyed that. And Via Superliminal said, I can stick around for a bit if you guys want to chat. Hello, Maya. Nice to see you. Glad you found a good chat here. The greatest affliction of the cosmos is never to have been afflicted. Someone shared this a few days ago. Amazing. Yeah, right on topic there. I love that. Very good. And thank you, Maya, for coming and joining us. Seems like there will be more value in what's natural right now. And especially Astro, whether you're holding out hope that that's the case. Yeah. And even the word natural, it was one of my favorite words until I realized how incredibly weaponized. There's an example of a weaponized word. It is against us, and that we've been led to believe, we've been brainwashed that natural equals healthy. And this is not true. It doesn't mean that the opposite, that unnatural equals healthy. That's the problem. That's why people get so attached to it. But yeah, if you go, pull back the curtain on what natural actually means, and we think, oh, it came from a plant, therefore it's not dangerous. Well, I'm looking at my aloe here, and guess what? Latex is not good for you. And if you don't know to remove the latex from the aloe before you use it, then you're either ingesting or putting on you things that are actually harmful. So it's, and then never mind food. I could go on and on about that. Yeah, holistic is interesting. It is a better word than natural. I think you're right that it's a whole different meaning entirely. But there's still problems with that. Achille, nice to have you here. You stopped using hair dye. You were able to taste it. Oh, that's very good to have the senses. Yeah, I know isn't that crazy when you got a poison and then you literally can taste it in your mouth and you know, oh, that's in me. That's why I can taste it. So that's very, very smart to know not to do that. I'm lucky that my hair is changing in a slow way. Still looks a bit, when people see me in person, they're like, what color is your hair? It's all the different colors are in there. And this ties into the fairy tale. Oh yes, let's remind everybody that Dagmar Stansova and myself are going to be podcasting tomorrow at a new show. We're coming for episode number 4. So there's 3 in the can already, called Yin on the Rocks. And it is all about the feminine. We're going to be going deep into a fairy tale on the podcast tomorrow. It's the bone collector woman, or the wolf woman. So I haven't even heard the tale myself. I'm going in faith and love for Dagmar because she's really smart and has beautiful inspiration. So join us tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time, every Thursday as well. And you're understanding that makeup has nano in it, attaches to our tissues. Yeah, I know. I've been weaning myself off of makeup, but I think people are going to get scared if they think I don't have eyebrows. It's frightening when you think I don't have eyebrows, so I have to color them. And you're looking forward to the podcast. I'm so glad. Me too, as well. It's fun. Endogenous. What does that mean? Like not like alien or not from outside of your own ecosystem? Then it's just entirely impractical. We live in the what's the tundra for 6 months of the year, so there's nothing endogenous except what is that? If I'm getting that right, what does endogenous mean? I don't know. I might be getting that wrong. But yeah, if you're like the 100-mile diet, then it's possible. We have buffalo in the winter, if you can get one of those. And you created your own makeup. I remember you saying, Dagmar, that you might be doing the charcoal. Well, that's probably what mascara is. It's just a charcoal in there. And then, yeah, that's great. I'm glad. Is that working for mascara, by the way? That's another thing. People get scared if they think I don't have eyelashes. And that was a great fairy tale last week. It really was, Achille. Yeah, so fun. Just like a little kid listening to stories, and they're so deep, and you don't know how, because one of the things that we're doing with that podcast is rebranding, not unbranding, the unknown, rebranding the unknown. And then so not knowing the tale and just letting it come in fresh and, having authentic, uncensored, improvised reactions to everything is the most fun that life could possibly be. So nice to have Biocharisma. I'm so happy that you're going to be talking to Garrett Smith. That's amazing. You've been catching all my unconscious vibes. I keep thinking, if you're still here, that I wanted to ask permission to share something of Garrett's work on your chats, because I see people talking a lot about their liver and all the kind of stuff. I try not to be too aggressive with it. I don't want to be attacked just for trying to spread something helpful for everybody. And let's see what else we got going on here. So healthy makeup. Yes, exactly. That's a really good thing to do. Dragon's blood is a nice red color. Interesting. Yeah, there you go. Charcoal and beeswax. I still wonder how you make the mascara. Maybe that one's not really possible. That would work for like eyebrow stuff. So before we start to close up, feel free to chat. I do have a little bit of time yet before supper begins. And wasn't that a great interview with Dani? So much fun. I just really, I enjoyed her a little bit, like secretly from a distance, not for any reason. Just that's my way. Lurk around and let my senses guide me to what is fun and alive and helpful. And I feel like she's a real sister after spending the time with her. Cocoa powder for some brown tint. Interesting. Cocoa. Yeah. Would you want to put cocoa on your skin though? I'm not sure about that because it's a major source of copper and that's deadly for me. I become so like get away copper because it's, I've been very poisoned by copper, unfortunately. And she was awesome. Yeah, I love her. She's fresh and alive and great at improvising as well. I said hi to her for you, Dagmar, at the very, very beginning, in case you didn't see that. And yeah, I was going back to a few older comments. Jackie K said it was you who let go of friends because they refused to see the truth. Yeah, it was an interesting evolution, that whole time, where there was a time where I was the cancel culture, because I could, if I saw somebody going sideways and spreading wrong propaganda and following controlled opposition and chirping about all the things that were going viral that really aren't like we think they're to be. And then I could see there was a little, if I was totally honest, I could see there'd be a little X on this person, a little X on that person, a little X on that person. And it got a little out of hand. I had to just come back and be a little bit more open, because when you start, there's no end. There's literally no end. And it becomes this strange canceling of everyone, and then you're alone and there's no one around, and that's not what life is about too. But yeah, Daphne said this earlier, the plot of Logan's Run, youth culture, only no elders. Exactly. I think of Logan's Run a lot. I think of that movie. I was actually completely traumatized by that movie as a child. It was terrifying. Why did they show me that movie? It was awful. And it stayed in my consciousness and with me, I think, by design again. And so, yeah, no surprise. That's kind of what we're looking at right now. Exactly. And life is much less hassle without the stress. Yeah, shocking amount of stress. People already know it. The medical system already knows it. Everybody knows it, that's like the number one killer right there, is stress. And that's what they're busy doing. I saw a new light has a no right turn. Oh, okay, so that everybody can back up. And there's apps. I was like, I always try to see now what could the rationale have been to make this new rule. I want to see that. I don't want to be the person that just goes like, rule bad, rule bad, rule bad, because some of them actually do serve. And there was no way of serving. This was just to torture the people. That was the only function of this new, no right turn kind of thing going on. And it's just to create stress. It's so that we don't know the rules. The rules are always changing. We end up breaking the rules. Like I'm not a rebel without a cause out there breaking the rules. I'll break the rules for really important reasons, but not for no reason, and not so I can bleed out money to the government over and over and over again too. But like, I'm probably facing a $600 ticket for going 50 in a 30 zone. That's 20 over. Oh my God, are they going to crucify me? And it was they threatened to double your tickets, or they double your tickets when it's a construction zone, for the so-called safety of the people who are working. But our construction zones, they don't have people. They don't have working. They only have pylons, and they have shut down roads, and they have mangled roads. They come and they rip them up, and they leave them ripped up for what can be months and months. And even if they finish the job, then they don't take the pylons away, and they leave the double speed fine. So it's just like absolute theft and trickery, and like it's the cruelest thing. I can't get over it yet. That there's so much unnecessary cruelty with the people. Ugh. Anyway, no right turn. What is this, Montreal? Yeah, exactly. I know. We have a lot of right on red. Yeah, same here. In Great Britain, there you go. Yeah. And Dagmar, are you willing to do the zeolite? I just bought the zeolite, by the way. I'm going to try it. I've mixed feelings about it. Maybe just have it on hand, see how that goes. I know that zeolite has been weaponized against us, and there's a lot of different qualities. I keep wanting to call him Grant. Strange. Garrett did a live stream on zeolite, so there's a lot of good science and background on that, but it's not a one size fits all for that product. So you can't just go, oh, zeolite, good. See, that's another example of word weaponization, where you get one word and it means a whole bunch of different things, but you got that one word, and then it tasks the person to go and make everybody define it individually. It takes you a lot of time. And yeah, highway robbery, exactly. Daphne, really nice to meet you, by the way. I've enjoyed your comments. And road closures and no work being done. I mean, that's a story. That is a story. No people and no work, or they just leave the machines. They've got a little part of the number one highway, which is 110 kilometers. They've got it down to 60. They've like killed the whole inside, and they've taken out the inside shoulders. It's like a mile wide, and it looks like a construction zone, but I have never once seen anybody working there. I drive by it every single week, and it's just, you know what happens to you for while I'm raving about this, when you have to slow down to an absolutely absurd speed that makes no sense whatsoever, you check out. You want to like, oh, what does my phone say? And you're like this when you're going so slow. That's how I swear that's how accidents are going to happen. You check out your mind. You like start looking around at the scenery, or you're like, because it's not requiring your senses in order to drive anymore. But I think that's going to create a lot of problems. Anyway, have to ask. To do another LYL Zoom. Oh man, I'm chomping at the bit to do that. Who was I? I was going to interview Wardy. She was on Garrett's live stream, and I mean, I would have Garrett on every single week if he had the time. I just know that his hands are pretty full, so I have been asking sparingly. I wanted him to debunk that whole vitamins are a psyop thing, that you can't isolate a vitamin or a molecule. And that's how the truth community managed to can Garrett's work without looking at it one tiny little bit. And I'll just let you know that I'm still bitter. It's like I'm over it in a way, but actually, no, I'm not. I mean, I'm not going after anybody, or and I never was going after anybody. I just like a little, it's like, here, some greater truth, some expanded reality, something that is not only a better way to think about it logically, but it works, and it's demonstrable, and not just in me, but in literally hundreds of people that Garrett is working with. So that's, why wouldn't they want that? Why wouldn't you want that? Because it's inconvenient. Right? And you tried to get Kelsey to address this. Yeah, I know. It's a can of worms. It's a big one. So yeah, because Garrett actually agreed to an interview about that, but hasn't followed through on it because it's a major bit of research. So yeah, love to know more about the reflective surfaces. I'm a few comments behind here. Let's see, Janice, nice to see you. What am I thought on parasites? Yeah, good topic. That I had the great fortune of never being spooked by anybody's BS about parasites. I refused. It was one of the intuitive hits that I had, is like, don't bother with that whole world of parasites until, finally post-pandemic, and I started having some gut trouble and the thought about parasites. And I took a wrongy thing. I made my own wormwood tincture at the farm. It was disgusting. I made it, what was it? So with mescal. I made it with mescal and some fresh wormwood from the farm. And I took some of that. That was a bad mistake, very, very bad. So you don't want to kill parasites. That's the basic bottom line, is that parasites are not a problem. Heavy metals are a problem. And that's why you have parasites. So if you kill the parasites, you have killed what is assisting you to deal with the metals, right? They are actually our friend. As soon as you're not so poisoned to the nines with metals, you won't need parasites. They will go away naturally. So we don't need to go after them. The parasite craze was a Rockefeller invention. Just like the fact that vitamin A, which is actually a fat-soluble toxin, got pumped as a nutrient. Same way that vitamin D got pumped as a necessary nutrient, as if our sun helps us make cholecalciferol. Absolute poison for the body. So that's my take on, I think Garrett's has he done something on parasites? I've for sure heard him talk about it a lot. If you go search his YouTube channel, Nutrition Detective. And if you have any other questions. Oh, and Dagmar, I was going to ask you about the zeolite. You're already using it. Yeah, I was thinking I might just have it on hand and like give it a try or something. I'm so sensitive, little canary in the coal mine over there. And then, photonic surveillance going on absolutely everywhere. Just signs, Jackie K. Shiny surfaces in your system, more shiny surfaces. Is that referring to the zeolite? Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I think I get what you're saying here, that maybe the zeolite craze is to make us more reflective and have more shiny surfaces to bounce signals off of. So that's interesting thing. And you've been on the road for 4 weeks with speed limit 40, nothing happening. There you go. And yeah, the reflective surface is good. Good point. Yeah, I'm not totally sold. I'm really not. Parasites are similar to bacteria in that you're blaming the firemen for the fire. Well said there, Dagmar. And okay, Sabrina Wallace. Yeah, she's the thing that I know about her right away is she needs you to be afraid, very, very afraid, and that is a sign of controlled opposition. She may not know it, but by using fear as the tool to communicate, that's traumatizing people. That's not making them have better decisions or take in information. That's not helping. That shuts down your faculties. It doesn't improve them. So I couldn't go near her. Yeah, in case of radiation, got it. Yeah, it's still an idea worth sort of just slam her like that, but I can't stand it personally. And yeah, so cool mind flip. Our bodies make parasites, fear not. Exactly, Jenny G. You got it. Yeah, I used to never be afraid of them, and that's good. I never used to. And you use beans to sop up the toxins. Good idea, right? Yeah, there's lots of natural fibers that are good for that, and psyllium. And I love my beans, man. I love my beans. I'm hungry for some beans right now, in fact. Can't get enough of those beautiful things. And the research is very helpful. She's problematic in the trauma. Yeah. They probably don't know it. They don't realize it. It's, I'm assuming she's not using, or I'll give people the benefit of the doubt that she's not, that they're not using it on purpose. And it's, there's lots of scary stuff, but at the end of the day, it just doesn't serve or help anyone to be terrified or to terrify people, right? Like that's just going backwards. We need our full faculty, all of our senses. So, well, my dearest, I wonder if we're coming to the end of this stream. Once again, thank you to Dani Katz for coming out. I'm happy that we'll have a second conversation, at least, about the feminist agendas. And then we'll be seeing you tomorrow at our Yin on the Rocks with Dagmar and Beth at 3 p.m. Central Time, same King Hero channels. This will be available as a podcast after the fact. And it will also be a recording, of course, on all of the places that it was live streamed. And if you would like to connect with me, you can always visit my website, bethmartins.com. Put it in the chat here with my 3 fingers typing. I make a lot of typos these days. More. And you can take 10 minutes and do an archetype quiz. It's been very popular. If you've already done it in the past, you won't be able to sign up for it fresh. But if you're wondering where you are now on the hero's journey, then you can get some insight about it. Your tendency is to answer the questions differently based on where you're at in your life. We do travel the hero's journey. It's an ever shifting kind of a substratum, if you want to call it. And so you just hit me up for a direct link. If you've already signed up in the past and you're connected with me by email, then I can send the direct link to the quiz and you can do it again. You can do it over and over. I don't recommend doing it every day because you won't get any new information. It's kind of like tarot cards. Don't do a tarot card reading every day. I mean, I don't do tarot cards or angel cards or all that kind of stuff. I go to that stuff quite sparingly, actually, and then I get myself a nugget. I grab something, like I grab words, and then I take it and I use it, and I apply it and I study it, and so it's meant to be taken in smaller doses. And the reading is just the tip of that iceberg. It's not the full thing, but you can usually get some kind of information about yourself that you didn't know. And that's my whole entire subject, is that if we knew more about what we don't know, what we don't hear ourselves think, what we don't feel ourselves feeling, what we don't understand about the layer of programming that is entirely unconscious by definition, then you gain greater faculties. It's the same thing with being afraid, right? If you're all caught up, and this is a big part of it, if you're all caught up in the fear that is the programming of how we came to be in all this trouble, then that is going to be the lens you see every single thing through, and it's the lens you create through, which is not a right way to use language. I was scared to host Dani for that reason, because I was pretty sure I was going to make mistakes with the language. And let's see, what was I just talking about? So yeah, the archetype quiz, the House of Free Will, you would be more than welcome to apply to join the House of Free Will, because that's my favorite place. That's where I have my best friends, and we, it's an exercise in free will, and yet it's not chaos or anarchy. Not that I'm anti-anarchy. I did remove a bunch of anarchy groups from my Facebook, thinking that they're going to come after me. They probably will, but it won't matter anyway. So yeah, the House of Free Will, it's a beautiful place. We are going to be doing a workshop coming up. Dagmar Stansova, who is a writer and an actress and a screenwriter. She's got a great one-woman show up on YouTube on her channel under her name. If anybody felt like posting that would be awesome too, while I'm getting this other link. And so the House of Free Will is by application, just so, like I said earlier, I can tell that we are related enough that we'll get along, because if we can't get along, then what's the point, right? That's no fun. And it's not that everybody needs to be the same, because that would be absolutely impossible as a goal, but enough, right? Enough that we have some points of intersection, and it seems like a good thing that you'd be interested in spending time with them. And so shout out to the House of Free Will members. Thank you for being there. It is a place where I am much more transparent about, say, what's happening in my life currently, that I won't share in public for a whole variety of reasons, not just because I don't want people to know, but because it might not be helpful. So we have a closer relationship. That's the whole purpose, again, to just establish and have this experiment of getting along. That is the Achilles heel of any kind of movement that towards freedom, or independent communities or parallel communities and all that kind of thing. As if people don't get along, we're absolutely screwed, you guys. So may we give grace to one another, Jenny G. And as we utilize the tools of language. Amen. Yeah, still very much learning that myself. And Kelly, you said you'll do it. I put it off. Time goes quickly for me, but you're a wealth of knowledge. Thank you, Beth, and thank you, Achille. I appreciate that. I don't know what piloerection is. That sounds kind of racy. You're very welcome, Via. Nice to see you. And the research is what you paid attention to. She did a great podcast with Eileen McCusick on the biofield. Maybe I missed Karen Hurd. Oh yeah, Karen Hurd is interesting. I looked into her. I liked her instantly. I wanted to, like, right away. I'm like, okay, I'm going to contact her and I'm going to do an interview with her. But when she said a few things like, oh, they're not trying to kill us, that's just paranoia, then I'm just like, nope. If you can't see, like, for all that intelligence, I'm sorry, if you can't see that they're actually actively trying to off the humans, then it's hard to go further. And then it's not so simple. Eat beans and live forever. It's not that simple. It just isn't. If it were, then you don't need anything, right? We'd all just be perfectly healthy. And so it's one thing. Soluble fiber is very important, but it's not everything. So it was just a little bit too simplistic. What I did like about Karen is that she understands the digestive system very, very well. And I could get quite an anatomy of digestion through listening to her. So I appreciated that. And that's important. Yeah, I always try to get somebody to do an anatomy of digestion. And the hair is standing up on your skin. Nice. Hair follicle erection. Got it. Connects you to your own biofield. Oh yeah, interesting. I used to think that was like the sign of the truth. If you got the truth chills, then it was the sign of truth. But it's not. It's your body reacting maybe to what you think is the truth. Because I've gone through enough time in my life to know that everything I thought was true is not true. And I got all the chills, and I got all the like warm fuzzy feelings, and that, oh my goodness, I found the truth finally. It's like no, much deeper than that, much further, or that was all just dead wrong. So I'm sorry to slam that hair follicle erection. That is pilo erection. Got it. Yeah. And I talk so much sense. Thank you, Jackie K. I believe that. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate that. And I guess I do believe that, because I wouldn't talk it if I didn't think I made sense. So the reason is that zeolite can have problems where the beans don't. Right. Right, exactly. And that's that everybody has to find their way with everything, with some basis in reality and knowledge. That would be nice. And I don't know if zeolite is going to work for me. And the tricky part is it's a moving target that, right now I'm really grooving on magnesium chloride. That's actually thanks to Dagmar. She turned me on to that, and I'm really grooving on it. It's working for me. But there will probably come a time where my body doesn't want that anymore. And I will hit moments where it's like, I don't want any more chloride unless it's sodium to season my food, which is how I do that. And to fend off surveillance when you feel the intrusion. Well, have you guys noticed, by the way, there are two forms of this pilo erection. It sounds totally pornographic, by the way. That there's one version of it that is, I'll call it the warm fuzzies, where you think it's truth, or it's true connection, or some kind of like synchronicity goes off, and all the DMT is going off in your system, and it's pleasurable, and it's like ding 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 ding, like this. And then I also have a version of that is when something is so creepy, so like awful even to consider, and like frighteningly true, I will get the same thing. It usually goes off in this part of my head. I'll get and it'll like, I'll get those follicles standing up, but it's not a pleasure. It's just the same mechanics, that it's doing the same thing to the hair. So does anybody else get that weird thing when they see or feel the unspeakable? It's terrible. Yeah. So I think I will leave it at that. I did post the application to the House of Free Will. So if you're feeling called and you feel like I would be a good person, you'd like to come and be in my living room and connect with me and my friends, and our weekly meetings and the workshop coming up on the 24th, which there's lots of time to apply, then you can answer those questions at the application, and I'll reach out to you, or my assistant Kristen will reach out to you about joining. It is a $3 monthly donation. I'm asking for that, which is almost nothing for 1 month of weekly meetings and all of the workshops that have already taken place in there. Huge number of resources are available, already recorded, and you have access to all of that in the library. And I do a weekly snippet video, which again is much more personal than anything I would talk about in public, on the subjects that are the most important to me, that I think will be genuinely helpful to other people like you. So, the way to use it, that we're still talking pilo ejection here, that to use it is to intend protection. We are electrical. This is how they do it. They tap in. Interesting. Oh, hello, Em. Nice to see you. I haven't seen you for a little while. I have to rewind this one. You're signed up for my email, but I've never done the quiz. How could you get a link? Could you send me a message either on Telegram or go to my website and fill out any forms? Just say, hey, Beth, I would like to have the direct link. I'm not going to share that in public. Sorry, I won't drop that here in public. And you still have to give your email, but it's not taking your email. It's just how the quiz ends. That's how it triggers to give you results. That's how it's designed. I didn't have anything to do with that. And you have a good idea for a speaker, lay it on me. Yeah, you can tell me now, or you can message me. Telegram is the place I do most of my communicating, by the way. So if you're not there on Telegram, do feel free to come and join. There's my King Hero chat is where I do the majority of, let's see if I've got a quick link to it. Telegram show notes. Yeah, that's where we do most of our chatting, and it's very deep these days. Thanks to a couple of people. Shout out to Private, who has sparked a number of very deep conversations, which I love. He is a deep guy, really inspiring. He's done a couple of workshops on law, dispelling if you're tired of all of the law crap that you've learned that is meaningless and literally has no value whatsoever, then I got a guy in my back end right now, and that sounds pornographic too. It's not like that. That he's got a lot more education, like the real thing. The real thing. I could hear him talk intuitively. I knew, and he gave a couple of amazing roundtables in the House of Free Will already, and they are available. So these are the two. The first link to Telegram is my channel, which you could join. You're most welcome. And then the chat is where you can have a conversation with us. And for our healthcare SMH, what is that? SMH for our healthcare. I'm not good at those acronyms. My brain doesn't come up with what they mean very much. Sometimes I'll Google them and it'll help me. I have to go to my son. Like, what does this mean? Speaking of my son, I am going to play us out with one of his pieces. This was actually a original little piece of his. And I don't know that it has a title. It might, but I don't know what that title is. And shout out to him. His name on YouTube is Psycho. How fast could I get that link? Darn it, show notes. Yep, here it is. And if you feel like subbing to him and encouraging him to make more music and videos and stuff like that would be great. And a lot of love to you guys. I'm glad we could hang out, we could chat, and have some fun today. So thank you everyone for coming. It's been a blast. I've really, really enjoyed it. And sorry, let's cue this up better than that.